Okay, so I had now been at my boarding school a little over 2 months, and when I say boarding school, most people picture kind of something wonderful. Unfortunately for me, my boarding school was more of a military, extreme Baptist cult. They used corporal punishment and any means necessary to get you to kind of comply by the rules. So I had now been there 2 months, and one of the staff members, Ms. Charnetska, was going through the hallways and the dorms looking for students to talk to parents. She approached my orientation guide, Janelle, and asked if she would talk to parents, and then the next thing would be to figure out what to do with me because I was still pretty new and couldn't be left alone. When Ms. Charnetska asked Janelle to kind of recap things I had been into over the past 2 months as far as like any trouble or things like that, as far as maybe to decide if I was ready yet to speak to parents. She let her know kind of a recap. Basically, the few things I had been through so far were being there were the usual, the take-in shower process. Every girl went through this, and it was already pretty traumatizing. I had to be undressed in front of 8 different girls in a hallway, completely stripped naked. So that was everything everybody went through, and that was already day 1. I had already kind of been on snacks and shakes as well, which is basically not only did I have the regular 3 meals a day, but I also had snacks in between breakfast and lunch, and then a snack in between lunch and dinner, and then a big milkshake before I went to bed. This was kind of helped me get a little thicker because I was a little too skinny upon arrival, and they thought I looked a little unhealthy. I also got the pleasure of writing lines all the time because I wasn't really excited yet to do any schoolwork or to write a letter home to my parents. The line I got to write all the time, and so much to where I had like bleeding fingers, was as a student at Mountain Park Baptist Boarding Academy, I will behave myself in a studious manner. I wrote this thousands and thousands of times. And my other thing is I had yet over 2 months to have any communication with my parents, had received no mail yet. So needless to say, I was pretty terrified, especially only being 15. But this was pretty minimal what I had been through compared to other girls. So she said, you know what, I think she's ready to go ahead and talk to parents. Janelle and I went back to her closet and we went ahead and got ready. We were allowed to wear what was called Bible study clothing, which meant it was a long skirt, either a nice shirt, but we did not have to wear nylons, which was always great. Because for church and for school, we had to wear nylons. In Missouri too, and during summertime, anyone too wearing nylons is no fun. So I was pretty glad at least we didn't have to do that. We had to go put on a little makeup and do our hair and go over the few things and the rules of what I needed to and to not say. As we got ready, we heard over the intercom, basically it was time to go to Brother Gerhardt's office and we would be speaking to parents. As we entered in the room, I saw Brother Gerhardt, who was one of the staff members who worked there, there was basically the main people who kind of ran the place, and then their daughter stayed and had married a man who had come up through the school as well, one of their other facilities, and now he was helping running this place. As he sat behind his desk, he basically let all of us know where to go, and there was a man sitting in the room kind of in a chair, and we all kind of gathered around him, and he looked at us. Each of us were kind of supposed to introduce ourselves and let them know a little bit about who we were, why we were there, and things like that. As far as most of the people that were there, I would say the majority was in 3 groups of people. The extremely religious parents who had kids that were not acting as they thought they should in church. The political, career-driven parents who really didn't want their kids kind of, looking different, maybe ruining their political career if they had purple hair, something that really stood out in the 90s as far as maybe unacceptable. And then the other group of kids, which I thought were the worst and the saddest, were the kids that had been adopted, and then maybe they didn't turn out as well as the parents had thought, so then they shipped them off to boarding school. So this is the group of people. So all of us go ahead and we're going through our turn, and it's now my turn, basically. So as I stand there terrified, hands behind our back, and I can also feel kind of I'm elbowed in and being nudged kind of, reminding me I better say the right thing, and one of the main people sitting there behind the desk. It's my turn. Hi, I'm Meaghan Richter. I'm 15 and I've been here 2 months, trying all I can to hold back the tears and show any form of terror. I was a runaway and a troubled teen. I was on drugs, and I didn't get along with my parents. I'm explaining this to them, and there's really no room for anything in between on why I was maybe into drugs or had dropped out of school. For me, getting into drugs was kind of an escape for dealing with a lot, from not really having any parental supervision and having a lot of financial resources. My mom, ironically, was the alcohol and drug abuse director for Broward County and ran the rape center down here. So I really didn't fit in as a perfect daughter, as she was also just recently nominated at that time in the Women's Hall of Fame. So I kind of stood out a little bit. So as I explained that I was a troubled teenager and had no purpose in life and had dropped out, I then kind of explained then that I now, though, had accepted Jesus Christ into my heart, and I wanted to be there and serve the Lord, and I really hoped to one day get to stay there and graduate and work there. This is pretty much verbatim everything I heard everybody else to say and was terrified to say anything different. I went ahead and we finished up, and basically afterwards the father, also another note, there was never a mother I had ever seen bring their children. It was usually a security company, just a father, or sometimes even a pastor. We finished up and he just commended us on how amazing all of us looked, especially myself, that how only 2 months I looked just so amazing. And he couldn't wait to get his daughter to look just like us. We literally looked like something off Little House in the Prairie, which is not hard to do when you're given clothes made by them and told exactly what to say. I did unfortunately end up staying and graduating there at the age of 19 with nothing to show for it because they didn't file anything with the Board of Education. I also then stayed to work not only for fear of the people there, but also for fear of the world after being there for 5 years. I also felt the fear of leaving behind people I cared so much about, and felt the fear of what would happen to them if I was not there to protect them as much as I wanted to. Thank you.